My mother-in-law invited me to a nice restaurant. The chef secretly warned me to leave. I had always had a rocky relationship with my mother-in-law, Helen. Despite my efforts to win her over, she remained cold and distant. So, when she invited me to dinner at a fancy restaurant, I was both surprised and hopeful. Maybe this was her way of extending an olive branch. The restaurant, La Belle Époque, was nestled in the heart of the city and boasted rave reviews. Its dimly lit interior, adorned with vintage chandeliers and rich dark wood, exuded an air of sophistication. As I entered, I marveled at the elegance and opulence that surrounded me. It was the kind of place that made you feel like you had stepped into another era. Helen was already seated at a corner table when I arrived. She greeted me with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Her perfectly coiffed hair and immaculate outfit were in stark contrast to my slightly rumpled appearance after a long day at work. "Thank you for inviting me, Helen," I said, trying to keep my tone upbeat. My heart was pounding with a mixture of anxiety and hope. "This place is beautiful." She nodded curtly. I thought it was time we had a proper chat, just the two of us. We ordered our meals, and the conversation remained superficial. Helen seemed distracted, her eyes darting around the room as if she was waiting for something, or someone. I tried to engage her in small talk, asking about her day and her recent activities, but she gave short, vague answers. The waiter brought out our first course, and I noticed the chef standing near the kitchen entrance, his eyes fixed on our table. He was a tall, stern-looking man, with a chef's hat perched on his head. When our eyes met, he quickly looked away. As I dug into my salad, I felt a tap on my shoulder. It was the chef. "Excuse me, madam," he said softly. "May I have a word?" Confused, I nodded and followed him to a small, private alcove near the kitchen. My heart raced as I wondered what could be so important that the chef needed to speak to me privately. "Listen," he began urgently. "I don't have much time. You need to leave this restaurant immediately. You're in danger." My heart pounded. "What are you talking about?" "Your mother-in-law. She has connections with dangerous people. She's planned something terrible for you tonight." I stared at him, my mind racing. "Why are you telling me this?" He glanced around nervously. "Let's just say I owe someone a favor. Please, just trust me and go. Now." I returned to the table, my mind spinning. Helen looked at me with a raised eyebrow. "Is everything all right?" I forced a smile. "Yes, I just needed a moment. Excuse me, but I need to step outside for a bit." As I walked towards the exit, I felt Helen's gaze boring into my back. Once outside, I called a cab and told the driver to take me home. My hands were shaking and I could barely think straight. When I arrived home, I called my husband Tom and told him everything. He was shocked and immediately called the police. They promised to investigate the situation and check on Helen's connections. The next few days were a blur. The police were thorough, and the more they uncovered, the more it became clear that Helen was indeed involved with dangerous individuals. They had been planning to use me as leverage to get to Tom, who had recently received a substantial inheritance. Thanks to the chef's warning, I had narrowly escaped a perilous situation. Helen was arrested, and Tom and I took extra precautions to ensure our safety. The experience left me shaken, but it also brought Tom and me closer together. We were grateful for the mysterious chef who had risked his safety to warn me. Though I never got his name, his bravery saved my life. In the weeks that followed, Tom and I tried to return to some semblance of normalcy. The house was quiet, and the sense of dread that had hung over us began to lift. However, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were still being watched. Every creak of the floorboards and rustle of leaves outside made my heart skip a beat. One evening, as Tom and I were having dinner, there was a knock on the door. My heart leaped into my throat. Tom went to answer it, and I followed close behind. To our surprise, it was the chef from La Belle Époque. "May I come in?" he asked. There was a seriousness in his eyes that made my skin prickle. We led him to the living room, where he sat down and took a deep breath. "I owe you an explanation," he began. "My name is Jean-Luc, and I used to work for some very dangerous people. Your mother-in-law was involved with them, but I managed to get out. I've been trying to atone for my past ever since." He paused, looking at us with earnest eyes. "When I saw Helen with you at the restaurant, I knew I had to do something. I couldn't let her plan come to fruition. You see, she wasn't just after the inheritance. She had been part of a network that engaged in much darker activities. Her goal was to eliminate you and take control of Tom's assets for her own gains." Tom and I exchanged horrified glances. The reality of the danger we had been in hit us like a ton of bricks. Jean-Luc continued, "I've been working with the authorities, providing information to bring down this network. With Helen's arrest, we've managed to dismantle a significant part of it. But there are still remnants out there, which is why you need to be vigilant." After Jean-Luc left, Tom and I sat in silence, absorbing everything we had learned. Our lives had been intertwined with something far more sinister than we could have ever imagined. In the months that followed, we took every precaution to ensure our safety. We moved to a new house in a different part of the city, changed our routines, and kept a low profile. Jean-Luc kept in touch, updating us on the progress of the investigation and reassuring us that the authorities were doing everything they could to protect us. The ordeal had changed us. Tom and I became closer, our bond strengthened by the adversity we had faced. We learned to trust each other implicitly, and our love grew deeper as we navigated the challenges together. Eventually, life began to settle down. The shadows of our past still lingered, but they no longer held the power to paralyze us with fear. We found solace in the simple joys of everyday life and cherished the moments we had together. One day, as we walked hand in hand through a park, Tom looked at me with a smile. "We've been through so much, but we're stronger because of it. I love you more than ever." I smiled back, my heart full of gratitude. "I love you too, Tom. We've come a long way, and we'll keep moving forward no matter what." As the years passed, we built a family and a life filled with love and trust. The memory of that fateful night at La Belle Époque faded, but we never forgot the lessons we learned. We became advocates for others who might find themselves in similar situations, sharing our story and the importance of listening to one's instincts. Jean-Luc remained a silent guardian in the background, his occasional updates reminding us of the precarious balance between safety and danger. We knew we owed him our lives, and his courage continued to inspire us to face our fears and protect our loved ones. Our lives had been forever changed by that night, but it had also given us a deeper appreciation for the fragility of life and the strength of the human spirit. We faced each day with a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that together we could overcome any obstacle that came our way. And with that, we continued our journey, side by side, ready to face whatever the future might hold, always remembering the night when a brave chef's warning saved our lives and set us on a path of resilience and love. In A Warning at La Belle Époque, How a Chef's Secret Saved My Life, follow the gripping tale of intrigue and danger as a tense family dinner takes a sinister turn. When a mysterious chef at a luxurious restaurant discreetly warns a daughter-in-law of impending danger, she discovers her mother-in-law's dark secrets and the perilous world she unknowingly stepped into. Thrust into a race against time, she navigates betrayal, deception, and a fight for survival, uncovering a network of dangerous individuals willing to do anything for power. This thrilling narrative explores the resilience of the human spirit amidst adversity and the enduring strength of familial bonds in the face of unimaginable threats.